The world saw a comedian, a man who could make millions laugh without saying a single word. But behind the tiny mustache, the awkward walk, the smiling performance, was a boy who grew up terrified of hunger, terrified of abandonment, terrified of becoming powerless again. Before the fame, before Hollywood, before the applause, Charlie Chaplin was just a child, watching his world collapse in silence. And maybe that's why he never stopped performing. London was cold. Not the romantic kind of cold, the kind that crawls into your bones and stays there. Charlie grew up in poverty so brutal that survival became part of his psychology. His father disappeared into alcoholism. His mother slowly lost her mental stability. Some nights there was food, some nights there wasn't. And when you grow up in chaos long enough, your brain changes. You stop thinking about dreams. You think about survival, about escape, about becoming anything other than weak. That fear never left him. Even later, when the entire world knew his name. Most people think performers chase attention because they love it, but sometimes they chase it because silence feels dangerous. Charlie discovered something early. People laughed when he performed, and for a brief moment, the pain disappeared, the hunger disappeared, the fear disappeared. The audience gave him something life never had: control. That's what made him dangerous. Not talent alone, but emotional desperation. Because when performance becomes survival, you don't stop. You can't. And slowly, the frightened little boy from London started transforming himself into someone the world could never ignore again. As Charlie Chaplin rose to fame, he didn't work like a normal person. He obsessed. Every movement had to be perfect. Every expression had to connect. Every scene had to mean something. Because deep down, failure didn't feel embarrassing to him. It felt fatal. That's the psychology most people never see behind greatness. Sometimes ambition isn't born from confidence. Sometimes it's born from fear. Fear of going back. Fear of being invisible again. Fear of becoming powerless. And the terrifying part, that fear can make people unstoppable. The world watched Charlie Chaplin become one of the most famous men alive. But fame didn't erase the child inside him. It only hid him better. The strange thing about making the world laugh is that nobody asks if you're hurting. They only want the performance, the smile, the character, the illusion, and Charlie understood that better than anyone, because his entire life was built on transforming pain into entertainment. Think about that. A boy who grew up surrounded by instability became the face of joy for millions of strangers. That contradiction is heartbreaking, and maybe that's why his performances felt so human. Because behind every joke, there was real suffering. Behind every smile, there was fear. People could feel it, even if they didn't understand it. Success changes your life, but it doesn't automatically heal your mind. That's the lie people still believe today. They think achievement ends pain, that money fixes fear, that applause creates peace. But emotional wounds don't disappear just because the world starts admiring you. Sometimes success becomes another prison, because now you're terrified of losing everything. And for Charlie Chaplin, performance became identity. The frightened child who once feared being forgotten became a man who could never stop performing. Not for the audience, for himself. because deep down, he was still running from the same darkness that chased him as a child.
Maybe that's why Charlie Chaplin connected with people across the entire world. Not just because he was funny, but because his pain felt real. Human beings can sense authenticity, even through silence. And maybe the reason millions saw themselves in him was because behind the performance, behind the fame, behind the smile, they could feel the loneliness, the fear, the survival instinct. Charlie Chaplin didn't become unforgettable because life was kind to him. He became unforgettable because suffering forced him to understand humanity in a way most people never will. And sometimes, the people who make the world laugh the hardest are the ones fighting the darkest battles